Well, that's a great segue into our next question. Leah would like to know, what is your best powwow story?
Go for it, Jen. You used to
Okay.
organize the powwows.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, I'm Pueblo. So when I came to college, I didn't know anything about powwows, anything at all. I had no I was completely ignorant. I had been to gathering once before that in my life, but in Kiva Club, the big thing we do every year is host the annual Nizhoni Days powwow, and I gotta hype it up. Oldest powwow in New Mexico, predates the Gathering of Nations. It inspired the Gathering of Nations. It's free, and we have a big old community feed at the end. So a lot of the drama would transpire with the community feed because this is like just student volunteers during finals week preparing this powwow like completely from scratch. And so it was always wild every year. And one year we're preparing all of the stews for all this, for this big community feed. And we would use like the women's resource center nearby, and so we're there all night up late cooking and doing the stews. And one time we had all these huge roasters all plugged into this one wall, fried as hell. So we shorted out like the outlets, and all of our stews went rancid overnight. It was terrible. Such a huge loss. I was like trying not to cry, like lose my mind, like screaming on the floor when the powwow was starting. But yeah, it's one of my powwow stories. They're not usually fun and rowdy. I never got to party gathering weekends like other Indians because I was a Kiva Club kid. So I was in there being a good noodle.
Um, my powwow story. My grandma. We used to have the Lower Brule Fair, and it was always really big. And it was pretty much the only powwow I ever went to. And in fact, we used to have social powwows, like just the community. They would have them in the high school gym, and I really liked that. They would do like potato dances, rabbit dances, and it was just like more of a social powwow, and it was fun because everyone danced, and some people wore regalia, but a lot of people were just like out there in their Wranglers, you know. Um, I always thought that was fun. I don't know if they do that. Maybe they do that other places. I don't know, but it was something I grew up with. But one thing I remember is my grandma was used to like help organize some of the powwow. She used to be on some committee, but she always had like the inside, like, and so after the powwow, she would they would always have this extra fry bread left over. I don't know how you have leftover fry bread, but she would come home with like a big black garbage sack full of fry bread, and me and my brother and my cousins would just like stuff our faces, like we put it in jelly, and of course like, so we'd come home and like we'd be smelling like fry bread and cigarettes, and I always thought that was the best smell in the world. Like I don't know, even today when I smell fry bread and cigarettes, it just like makes me like weepy eyed, you know.
Aww, it really takes me back.
This is gonna be the name of your autobiographical novel. Fried bread and cigarettes.
Cigarette storytellers, Marlboro Lights. My grandma loved Marlboro Lights, the big old long 100s.
Aw, my the only thing I can think of for my powwow story is like Jen, I am also Pueblo. So powwows in New Mexico is, I think it has to do with like the multicultural like history, like stuff going on. That's why gatherings of nations and stuff. But anyways, uh my Pueblo threw a powwow at our casino, and before we went to the it was at Sky City Casino. Before we went there, we stopped at the Laguna supermarket, and this was back in the day when they still had, do you remember those alien lollipops with the glow stick in the middle? Yeah, we got some of those. And then went to the powwow. Once it turned night, I was like a little kid. I remember how old I was. We were throwing them up in the air, and then like all these other kids started joining us, and we're just all tackling each other. So we'd just like throw it straight up in the air, and then we would all tackle each other for the glow stick.
That's how native gangs were formed, is that powwows. Like these little wild packs of kids running around.
Just feral res kids.
Just like smeared, like looking Kool-Aid smeared all over their faces. Having the time of their lives, no parents.
Oh, yep. Those were the days.